America is starting to wake up to the fact that Barack Obama is becoming a dictator. You know about him launching wars in Libya, Syria, and other areas. And when Congress comes to him and says, you've got to get authorization from us under the law, under the Constitution, he says, no, I don't, because I have the UN and NATO. That is treason. Obama has been having the ATF put in new anti-gun regulations outside of law. And now the ATF's talking about banning most shotguns with a new regulation. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to stand up to Barack Obama and let him know, and let the prostitute, accomplice, collaborator media know that America is waking up and will not put up with this type of executive abuse. The latest outrage, Obama came out last Friday and he said, I'm going to legalize 80,000 illegal aliens to begin with because I can't get Congress to pass the law. Just a few years before that, he said that he'd like to act like a dictator, but that he couldn't because of the Constitution.
Now, I know some people want me to bypass Congress and change the laws on my own. Believe me, the idea of doing things on my own is very tempting.
Now he's saying he can do this if he wants to. This is treason. It is important to create a grassroots campaign to say no to this. So we're doing something new. 2 new contests. $5,000 prize for whoever creates Barack Obama flyer posters and posts them in legal and lawful areas. Check your local laws. Videotapes it, uploads it to YouTube so it can go viral. You've only got 4.5 days. Midnight this Friday. Print off the flyers at Infowars.com or create your own poster. Post them in legal, lawful areas. Shoot video of it. Upload it to YouTube, send it to contest@Infowars.com, and we're going to announce the winner next Monday. You're not going to have to wait very long on this contest. And then 2 weeks after that, 3 Fridays from now, we're going to have part 2 of the contest. And if you win part 1, you can still be in part 2. $10,000 prize. Now, what we're going to do is take these videos and post them so that other people will see the example and go out and post more. We did this a few years ago with the Joker contest, Obama as a Joker, and the media took our bait. They said, how dare you show our gracious Fuhrer as a Joker? This should be illegal.
It is a poster showing the president made up like the Joker, and as West 2's Amanda Ober reports, whoever is responsible may face criminal charges.
That you shouldn't be able to criticize Obama. It was in hundreds of newspapers, more than 20, 30, 40, 50, I lost count, TV stations from Japan to Ireland to the United States. This is going to be even bigger because these authoritarian pigs of the New World Order are going to try to say it's wrong to show Obama as a dictator. In fact, some of the posters we're making say, murdering dictator, his face, Infowars.com. Or scumbag dictator, Obama's face, Infowars.com. Our forebears in the 10 years leading up to the revolution in 1776 did the same thing. They decried King George III. They decried the corrupt system and were basically politically demonized for it. We have to identify that Obama is becoming a dictator because the powers that the executive is grabbing will just be passed on to the next president unless we decry them now. The traitorous Congress has been told they're slaves of the executive and have gone along with it. So it's important to let that scum know that we're aware of them. Follow the link below me to the contest rules. It's very, very easy. This country is in deep trouble, and we the people will call out this criminal who is saying he'll arrest us under the NDAA, he'll kill us, he'll shut down the internet, he'll hijack our smartphones and take it over with his propaganda messages, that he'll launch wars without congressional approval, that he'll do whatever he wants. Enough is enough. Let the maggot Barack Obama and all of his criminal mafia that worked for him, that staged Fast and Furious and so many other crimes, know that you're awake to them. Last time the Obama Joker poster went super viral. This time it's going to go even bigger. Last time it was only $1,000 in prizes. This is $15,000. Part 1 and part 2 of the contest. This is your chance to strike a blow against tyranny and exercise your First Amendment, and to have a chance to win up to $15,000. It's all posted at Infowars.com and at the link below. I leave you with the words of Thomas Jefferson. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. When the people fear the government, there is tyranny. It's time that would-be dictators know the sleeping giant that is America and free humanity is awakening. It's Stop Dictator Obama contest at Infowars.com. Control freak tyrants are going to hate this.
At the current moment, Barack Obama is attempting to nullify the American system of government. If you want to know what a Hitler coup looks like, here it is. Anybody now hesitating to act to remove Obama from the presidency is signing the death warrant for the United States. If Obama succeeds in eliminating the constitutional powers of the legislative branch, you will see in very short order the bodies of dead Americans piling up in the streets. The Congress is now being held at the point of a gun to vote to nullify their own constitutional authority and grant Obama dictatorial power by emergency decree. With the budget deal which Obama announced overnight, not only will $1 trillion in cuts go into effect immediately, but a super Congress, an Uber Congress, will be convened to dictate another $1.5 trillion in cuts. This bicameral committee of 6 Democrats and 6 Republicans would be tasked to recommend a fascist austerity package by November 23rd, at which point both houses of Congress would be required to vote yes or no. They cannot amend it. They cannot filibuster. If the Congress votes no on the package, $1.5 trillion in cuts to defense and domestic entitlements will be triggered automatically anyway. The issue here is not a budget question or the debt ceiling. Obama, in collusion with the British Empire, has orchestrated a campaign of terror against the elected representatives of our government to force them to concede their constitutionally mandated power to a dictatorial supra-legislative body. This is the Obama plan. He has claimed credit for it, and the credit indeed is all his. He is guilty of being an Adolf Hitler. In the same way that Hitler used the Reichstag fire, the threat from Standard & Poor's, Moody's, and other rating agencies to downgrade the U.S. debt is the environment of terror being used by Obama to ram through a dictatorial fascist coup. Look at the facts. Obama was directly collaborating with British agent David Beers of S&P to orchestrate the pretext for a coup against the U.S. Constitution. This is treason in the constitutional definition of the word. Obama deserves to be immediately removed from office now on charges of adhering to the interests of a foreign power against the lives and welfare of the citizens of the United States. And anybody in the Congress who votes for this coup d'etat is voting for treason against their nation, and they will be held accountable. LaRouche PAC is currently mobilizing a mass resistance in the American population. The 6-candidate LaRouche Democratic slate has condemned this Hitler coup plan for what it is. A mass leaflet is now in circulation, and field teams of the LaRouche PAC organization are on the streets across the country delivering the message that our only defense is Glass-Steagall now. In this emergency situation, Glass-Steagall could be passed today. Glass-Steagall has now become the only weapon of strategic defense that our nation has to head off this coup. Bankrupt the enemy, remove Obama from office. If we don't act now, we've nullified our system of government, and we've lost the United States.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.
What's new has our full attention. Join us to post what mainstream media will not, the truth. If you do not want this read, do you click links or read below? Thanks. Obama orders Arctic death camps, built to hold American traitors. A disturbing report issued by the Russian General Staff to President Medvedev warns today that the North American Security Zone Agreement signed this past week between the United States President Obama and Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper is a de facto merging of these two nations and allows the Americans to begin building one of the largest gulag systems, forced labor camps, in modern human history. According to this report, this new agreement between the United States and Canada brings closer to fruition the North American Union between these two nations and Mexico, first proposed by President Ronald Reagan on 13 November 1979. Most ominous about this new agreement, Russian military experts in this report say, is that aside from Canada having to provide the United States with personal information on millions of Canadian citizens, the Americans now have complete control to begin building their long-sought-after system of labor camps in the Canadian Arctic designed to hold up to 1 million of their citizens their president has deemed to be traitors. Virtually unknown to the masses of American people is their president's ability to label anyone he so chooses as a terrorist or traitor, enabling him to turn these citizens over to the control of the United States military forces who are able to hold them without charges or trial forever. Even worse, and as we had previously reported on, new laws being passed in the United States now designate their homeland as a battlefield, and ordinary citizens who oppose the Obama regime as being enemies of the state. Not content to have the astounding dictatorial powers he already possesses, new reports from the United States are now stating that President Obama is threatening to veto even tougher laws that fail to give him complete control to turn over anyone he so chooses to be jailed by the United States military forces. Russian military legal analysts in this report further detail that Obama's need to establish these Arctic death camps in Canada is to keep imprisoned American traitors from being able to access the United States legal system as they are being tortured, such as the system of secret CIA and the United States military prisons established all over the world over the past decade during their so-called War on Terror. To the type of life these Americans can expect in these Arctic death camps was recently described by German investigative journalists who uncovered one of these secret United States prisons in Romania who, in part, said, according to the United States officials, interviewed anonymously, during their first month in detention the detainees were deprived of sleep, doused with water, forced to stand in painful positions and slapped. There is a convenient and descriptive shorthand for this kind of treatment which readers in civilized countries might find useful: torture. One weird detail about the prison chills the blood more than anything else. The 6 cells were mounted on springs so they were always swaying a little. Apparently, it's a good way of keeping people disorientated for long periods of time. God knows where the CIA recruits the sort of people who can dream up this kind of stuff, from the ranks of a heavily armed backwoods militia maybe, or perhaps even the Ku Klux Klan. Chilling reports coming from the United States state that the United States Army has begun training their troops to staff these Arctic death camps, under a military occupational specialty, MOS, designed to teach them how to handle civilian detainees, and have begun asking their National Guard troops if they would be willing to fire on and kill American citizens. To the types of Americans labeled as terrorists by the Obama regime, the United States Senator Rand Paul this past week warned included anyone having missing fingers, anyone having guns, anyone having weatherproofed ammunition, and anyone having 7 days or more of food in their homes. So concerned is the Obama regime about any American citizen having more than 7 days of food, new reports from the United States are now saying their federal government agents are now ordering food companies to supply them with lists of anyone who is buying food in preparation for hard times or disasters. To any American thinking they aren't a terrorist, they should think again. Secret United States government documents they obtained further said these people were enemies of the state if they supported the United States Congressman Ron Paul, owned gold, or flew the American flag. to how soon the Obama regime will begin its mass roundup of its own citizens was chillingly revealed this week when new documents were released showing their push to open what are called former detention camps in all 50 states as soon as possible. The reason behind the Obama regime preparing to unleash its brutal might upon its own citizens was warned about this past week by noted trends analyst Gerald Celent, who during an interview with Russia Today stated that the United States was preparing to establish economic martial law. Sadly for the American people, whose march to communistic serfdom is accelerating with each passing day, was there ignoring the words of Prime Minister Putin, who warned of the dangers of any country following the path of communalism by his stating, "The concentration of surplus assets in the hands of the state is a negative aspect of anti-crisis measures in virtually every nation." In the 20th century, the Soviet Union made the state's role absolute. In the long run, this made the Soviet economy totally uncompetitive. This lesson cost us dearly. I'm sure nobody wants to see us repeated. And in what can only be described as the most despotic irony of all, while the Western media has devoted nearly all of its attention on Russian protests which saw nearly 300 arrests, they still refuse to report on the Occupy protests that have rocked their countries, resulting in the brutalizing of peaceful protesters and seen over 5,000 of them jailed. Your government working hard to protect you itself from you. Please help share this article with others. See links to this below. Thanks.
The only people who don't want to disclose the truth are people with something to hide.